Hey y'all, happy Sunday. So, I had all these plans and I was going to kind of start a recording schedule and figure out kind of what I want to talk about and all that shit. But then, Ryan Bailey, shout out, so bad it's good. Ryan Bailey, I love you. I'm a baddie, no smoke. But Ryan motherfucking Bailey and Joleen Lunzer, no offense, all offense, I love you also. I am part of the lean team. You motherfuckers ruined my week. Okay? So I think it was Wednesday night. I want to say it was Wednesday night. I don't know. But I knew I was getting my tax return. I had everything set up to go out so I could get bills caught up and everything. Good to go, gonna be great. And I came over and I was playing with some funny, what I think are funny graphics and shit, right? Excuse me. Ooh. Anyway, and I see Joleen is live with the new Blake Lively filing. And she goes on for 6 hours. 6 hours. And I could not stop watching it. Oh my God. She was entertaining. The comments were entertaining. The whole thing was fascinating. Her husband popped in it. The whole thing was amazing. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm not sure who's more unhinged, her or she who watched it. And I also have a bone to pick with all y'all in this coverage. Y'all made me watch that fucking movie, which was a giant turd. Nothing about that movie is good. What's happening? Nothing about that movie is good. Nothing. It is a piece of garbage. So, yeah. So, fuck you for making me watch that movie. And thoroughly entertaining, but then did not sleep and was kind of useless the next day. I want to say, though, it was Wednesday night, so that's not as bad because I work remote on Thursdays, so I don't have to get up quite as early, so that's all good. So that's what Joleen did to me. And then Mr. Bailey. Mr. Bailey, Ryan Bailey covered this, was it Fox Hollow Murders? Murder at Fox Hollow Farms. The director of that documentary series was on his show. And I usually like those. I want to say it was Stay Sweet and Obey, or anyway, he's done interviews with a lot of directors of documentaries that I watch. And a lot of times, one of the reasons I like him is because a lot of times I'm like, yeah, I just watched that. So in this instance, I had not watched the Fox Hollow Farms documentary. And so I did. And then I finished watching his episode with the director and everything. And then I remembered that the Gabby Petito documentary had dropped on Netflix earlier in the week. And he mentioned that. And I went and watched that. And then I went down how mad I am. And then I remembered about the Murder in Bighorn documentary about all the indigenous women near Billings, Montana that have gone missing or have been murdered their body, and nobody is doing anything. And so many, particularly in that region. It's like a highway to the West Coast for trafficking. It's very dangerous for indigenous women in that part of the country. And the fact, that this beautiful blonde woman and that privilege that it was, and not that her story isn't tragic, and my heart goes out to her family. Oh my gosh. But the disparity in, you can't say it's in public interest, because what's happening to the indigenous women is an actual matter of public safety, but it doesn't get covered, and it didn't get covered, and stuff. And I think about that. And so anyway, so I went down that rabbit hole this week. So, thank you both, Ryan and Joleen, but fuck you for, I got no sleep, and I had all these plans. I want to do a deep dive on the pit, all kinds of stuff. So On the Gabby Petito thing, I was listening to Jim talk about after they found her, having to call her mother, her father, her stepmother, and he was like, I had to tell these four people and conference them in and tell them, we've lost our daughter. And I was struck by how heartbreaking that was. But I was also, I don't know if proud, because what do they care what I think? But I was so heartened and proud of how these people who, normally in those situations where the mom and dad aren't together, there's a lot of ugliness. I certainly did not do my part in keeping things amicable between my son and his father and stuff. So I understand that knee jerk, you want to hate the person type stuff. And I appreciate how, for the good of their daughter, they kept everything amicable and there was open communication, and how they felt that loss together as a family, and how not just her family, but her chosen family, her friends, went out to say goodbye to her to the site where she died. And that really touched me. And so I appreciate that about that. Um, and I don't want to mute Gabby's story, but I wish that there was more that we could do to amplify the stories of women and people of color that go missing, that are murdered, that are victimized at alarming rates. Trans women murdered, trafficked at alarming rates. And I don't think we talk about those things enough. Which brought me down the found rabbit hole, which I love found. The writing is not great. The stories and stuff, I see what they're trying to do, but the acting is top notch and the story itself is compelling. It's the writing, the dialogue is bad. I shouldn't say the writing, the dialogue is no bueno, anti bueno. Anyway, but so I was thinking about that, and so then I went back and I rewatched a little bit of the Murder in Bighorn, and the Center for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, and how they've really they've made strides, but still not near enough. And there's so many issues that come into play, and why this particular group of women is so vulnerable to being trafficked and murdered and cast aside, in addition to what colonization has done to their culture, and this culture that started out as a 100% matriarchal society. Now there's a huge DV problem, on reservations and stuff, and that they talk about in the documentary how that's a result of colonization. That's a result of the separation from their culture and from their hearts and stuff. And I found that very interesting, and I thought about how, we don't talk about that part of our history. And it struck me that I grew up in Germany. I lived in Germany from 82 to 91, 9 years. That's where I grew up. Moved there when I was in the third grade. And when I moved to Germany, they did not, they taught about World War II in a very different way. And they did not teach, and I did not go to German schools. I went to American schools, but I knew I had German friends. They did not teach about the Holocaust in the German schools, in high school in Germany, until 1992, which coincidentally is when I graduated. Anyway, and I found that very interesting. And then that got me thinking about, all these people are up in arms. Don't teach critical race theory. It's not critical race theory. It's our actual history. What we've been teaching is a whitewashed version of what happened in our country. And I think that's really important. And I think that, if you want to look to a country that is trying to learn from their mistakes, that's a good example in that instance. Of course, then you can go on the other side and there's all kinds of right-wing extremism popping up, and it's just everywhere. It's all over the world. But popping up in Germany too again, and that's very scary, the resurgence of of the Nazi party. But anyway, that was the rabbit hole I went down this week, um, because of Ryan Bailey and Joleen Lunzer. But ultimately, we're talking about violence against women and violence against intimate partners, and that Gabby Petito, the way the cops mishandled that whole thing and stuff. And then in stark contrast, I've been binging The Pit, and because I'm doing a really big in-depth thing on, I don't know if it's gonna be really big, but it seems really big to me. I want to do a really big in-depth thing on it. And I think about the juxtaposition of how, they portray, and obviously these were real people, and this is, but also in my own life, like in the medical field, the difference in how people treat um, partner violence and things like that versus how law enforcement does. And I think about that, and again, then I go down these motherfucking rabbit holes. Because also, I just want to say, y'all, I know I talk about the other people on YouTube and podcasters a lot. The reason why I started doing this is because basically I just wanted to talk back to people that gave me hope and light at a hard and sad time in my life. And I have opinions and I want to express them. So whether they or anybody else ever sees it, I gotta say it. So anyway, fuck you for making me go down that rabbit hole, and I love you too. Um, I'm very excited. It's Sunday, self-care Sunday. So I had my shower, I did my laundry, I made my kid and I some food, and then I had my everything shower, which is why my hair is bouncy and I don't have a hat on. Um, I'm starting to give Joe Wemberg, and I apologize for that. Anyway, I anyway, so it's self-care Sunday. That's good. I'm gonna do this, and then I'm looking forward to, there's a new John Oliver tonight, and I hope to be back tomorrow to talk about that. Bye. Y'all have a good one.